welcome to Old Scary World. Today we'll be looking at Neolithic Britain and the corresponding structures therein. We'll start with this one here in Yorkshire. We see the stone circle here and the moon in the background, which is indicative of how these monoliths and megalithic structures corresponded with the celestial bodies. We see the stars here. This is obviously a long exposure. It captured the daylight, but also the stars and the clouds. And you see a lot of these structures, like I said, corresponding with the celestial bodies as sort of an astral calendar. And most of these structures are over 5,000 years old, which places them roughly a little bit older than the pyramids in Egypt, according to the official timeline. Although I suspect that these could be much older. And here we have a subterranean kind of, they called it that it was an ancient flint mine, but I'm sure there was something else going on. And then they put this ladder in here. It was clearly, something that was probably ground level. They were coming down here and saying that it's a basement, but it was, previously ground level. And you see this kind of construction in the Neolithic era. It's just absolutely, you try to find somebody that could just do this by themselves with no formal training or experience. And these people in Brittany, we call England or United Kingdom nowadays, were able to pull off with seemingly no instructions and just pure will. We have one here. We see these indentations in the grounds where there was burial mounds across the countryside here, and these are numerous in England or Brittany or the United Kingdom, whatever you want to call it. And you see these large indentations, and you see the building here. And you see this grid cut out here. These stretch out far beyond this. This is all probably been tilled and leveled and so forth for farming. These are still intact. And there's just so much to cover, so this might be a short video, but regardless, I'd like to come back and talk about this again because there's just so much to cover. Here's another mine dating back thousands and thousands of years. BC time, of course. 3,000, 4,000 BC. Some of these go back that far. And that's just what we know about. That's just what we know. And so, we're lucky that we can still see these things here. Now, this is going to look a lot like a certain place that everybody's familiar with called Stonehenge. This isn't Stonehenge. This is, see, there's so many other ones. That's the thing with Stonehenge is, they want all the tourists to go there and kind of just transfix on that. It's actually a red herring, because it's been reconstructed to fit a certain aesthetic, let's say. And there's pictures of it being set up. They put it back together, or they built it, or whatever. It's not even a real one. Who knows? All I know is there's numerous other quote-unquote henges that are far more interesting, if you ask me. It's just Stonehenge is like, it's the one. But this one here, I believe, is also in Yorkshire or Norfolk, and it's way more interesting, way more spooky. How it's unkempt and everything. You just kind of see it in its natural state of decay, and just the imperfectness of it is actually a little bit more interesting. And you got to think, these are thousands of years old. It's very interesting how they were able to lift such heavy stones. Very interesting. What, possessed them, what compelled them to build it here and build it in such a configuration. And luckily we have these nice high-res images, and you see some carvings in here. We'll get to that later in the video about the carvings that we find across Neolithic Britain. And you really have to wonder, was this just you look at this and you think, okay, well, if this was just an outdoor kind of ritual area for the Druids, then what were the people in other parts of the realm at the same time doing with greater technology? If we're told that the Neolithic Britons were with the we call the Anglos now were doing with minimal technology, then what were the more advanced civilizations doing? And then you kind of start to understand what's been hidden from us is it's the technology and the advancement, so on and so forth. There's a smaller image here, but nonetheless interesting, so we'll zoom in and we see these kind of little spires coming out over the arch of the bridge. And this is a very, very common bridge design that we see in North America as well. It was copied or handed down, very simple arch design, but just the stacking of the stones, something that we were supposedly doing here in the 1800s, matches what's been going on in Brittany for thousands of years. And that these spires are very interesting. I've never seen such a configuration here, but regardless, there it is. If there's any other examples of that, let me know that you find in your research. And I have this leaning building here left over, and people say that this is a little bit newer. Be that as it may, but it's the same kind of technique here with the stacking of the stones. So if this is newer, if this is say from the Middle Ages or the Dark Ages or some, then why are they still using the same stuff? So that would imply that it's older, which is my theory, or that there was some type of gap where there was no advancements in construction and architecture. So either way it's mysterious, either way it's interesting, especially with this lean got going on. And people say, oh well, it's tilted, the camera's tilted or something like that. Well, look at here, look at the horizon's level, so clearly it's the building. And regardless, it's kind of irrelevant. And here we have what's said to be a whalebone here. It's said to be a whalebone, whether it's put here like this, but nonetheless very interesting. Almost looks like a scarecrow or something, like a little person here. Supposedly it's a whalebone. It kind of looks like one, so maybe it is, but it's been standing here for a long time, being weathered and whatnot. Just thought it was interesting. So here we go into the inscriptions here. We see this kind of labyrinth pattern here, this kind of labyrinth design, like a maze. I see this here. This is dated to be around 3500 BC, but once again I think it's older. And we see these scattered all over the Isles of Brittany. Some more inscriptions here. These holes almost look like crop circles, or what we call crop circles, or identified as crop circles, which is a phenomenon that's also pretty common in Brittany. Some say it's a hoax, some say it's other evidence of other phenomena, but that would be a different video. We're moving on here. And we see this kind of Celtic, Pictish, all over Ireland and Scotland and what's now England. We have the serpent here. And these things kind of tell a story if you know how to read them. And we find these all over Europe. But the ones at Neolithic England are kind of unique in themselves. And we have some more here in a cave. And I see very, very intricate, very detailed here, the spirals and all this stuff. And this is all like telling a story once again. It's all a language. It's all, it's a message to those who can read it. All had very important, and someone had to spend a lot of time and effort to do this. And in those days when gathering food and so forth was more important, you had to feel like very special to be able to be dedicated the time to work on these, rather than just doing the bare necessities. This art is a luxury that not everybody was afforded, so clearly there had to be some significance to it for them to allot the time to allow people to work on this craft for no other apparent reason other than to look at it. But we know that there was a deeper meaning behind these than just art. So here we have this here, and once again, similar to the Stonehenge design, it's just kind of squashed down here. But can you imagine how heavy this one stone alone must have been, and how they were able to manipulate it to be standing here? It's absolutely amazing. I'd like to see somebody try to do something like this without any heavy machinery, without any electricity, or without an internal combustion engine or anything like that. Just ropes and pulleys or something. I don't know exactly how they did it, and that's part of the mystery. It's not just how they did it, why they did it, when they did it, and who they did it for. As in, did they do it for themselves, or did they do it to some higher calling? Was there something supernatural compelling them to build these buildings? Or was it just simply, I can't accept the fact or the theory that it was done out of boredom or superstition or imagination or something like that. It doesn't really add up to me, because how often nowadays do you see people doing stuff like this out of boredom or superstition? That's the thing, is these things can't be recreated in a way that makes sense for the supposed technology and means of the time. And that's including food and caloric intake, as in how strong, how healthy you would have to be, willing to sacrifice the time and so forth to build these structures. Okay, so this one is not in Brittany. This one is in Turkey, and this is some people call it the Temple of St. George, and some people refer to it as the Temple of Adam, and there's a few other names. And you see these crosses all put through here, intricate designs, kind of like some of the ones we saw, but more like squared up, cross, 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 cross. And some say this is a gateway. Some say this is a portal, like a Sumerian gate or something like that. Okay. So you see the similarities with these designs and these designs, big structures and stone. So that's why I included it, just for context, that this was in Turkey and the other ones being in Brittany, England, whatever you want to call it now. Okay. And here's another one here I thought was interesting. I have this face here. I thought it was kind of eerie, or like almost like an Easter Island, very spooky kind of face there. Just standing out here, just a little monolith, not a megalith. Let me see some other monoliths here. Just these little guys poking out. And this is just what survived, and like I said, I could probably do another whole video about this subject. So just let me know in the comments what you think about this one. And I know it's a little bit rushed. It was a little rushed, but I just wanted to put this out there and just see what people thought about the subject while I, source some more images and do a little bit more research and so forth. But yeah, just the tip of the iceberg, really. So yeah, with that said, thank you for watching. Goodbye.